Hello, my name is Peter Raymer, and today I want to talk about how to write a blog article. I've been writing blogs and creating videos for the last few years and have created quite a few. And over that time, I've learned some tips and tricks that I think would be really helpful for others like me that are creating content, or maybe you're getting started and you want to know how to create content that's really going to have a high impact. Oftentimes we spend hours learning new things, creating that content, writing it all down, but then we don't always get the views that we would like to. And I've learned a few tricks over the years that will really help you with search engine optimization, help you rank higher up on YouTube. And so I want to cover that today. Today I'm going to cover how to write blog articles. In another article and video, I'll cover how to post on YouTube. And then lastly, I'll let you know how you can post on social media and some of the tips and tricks around that. Again, quick disclaimer, I'm certainly no expert. There's many people who have a lot more success and a lot more views than I do, but I still feel like I've learned some things that I didn't know before I was starting. So I'm hoping that this will be helpful for you and that you'll learn something new today. So, all right, to get started, maybe you're setting up a new website and you want to start creating content. I definitely recommend trying writing a few articles in maybe Microsoft Word first. Make sure that you're comfortable writing these articles before you jump in and buy a domain and website. But once you're ready, or if you're ready at that step, I can give you a few tips. So to create a blog website, you need a couple things. First, you need to decide what your domain name is going to be. So in my case, mine is Dynamics365musings.com. I chose that name because I knew I wanted to be writing about Dynamics 365. And then musings gave me kind of a term where I could talk about anything, whether it was functional or technical or things in that area, while still letting people know what my site would be about. Other people will use their name or some variant of it. So definitely spend some time, think about what you want your domain name to be. But there's lots of great ways to do it. I'll show you a few. These are some of my friends' web pages. Dion Taylor, this is D365 Goddess. So again, really focused on D365. That's awesome. This is Alex Meyer, a good friend and MVP of mine. He's got his site named after his name, which is awesome. And then he's kind of added a subfolder for the topic that he talks about on his blog. Seth Bacon has the Bacon Bites, so just a really fun, memorable name for his site as well. Then we've got Alicia Keener, a recent MVP that I had the pleasure of just working with. She's done an awesome, great job building out lots of awesome content. Hers is intraclouddynamics.com. So you can see the cloud theme here. And then, of course, we've got D365 with Brittany.com. Brittany's also a new MVP as of creating this video. She's got an awesome site as well, so definitely check it out. All right, so back to kind of my site for the moment. You need to come up with that domain name. Usually that's the hardest part. You can then purchase that domain name in several different places, but I like to purchase the domain name in the same place that you're purchasing your hosting provider. So your hosting provider is the company that sells the services to host your website files on a server that's on 24/7 and has access to the internet. So I've used bluehost.com. There's plenty of others, GoDaddy, etc. But this one's been a good one for me. They have different options. As you look at it, some introductory rates, etc. There's ones that if you need e-commerce tools or high traffic sites, you can spend more. But usually, a basic site is plenty large enough and fast enough for you to do what you need to do for a blog article type site. So definitely you can sign up through here, buy it for the month or for a year or multiple years and get a discount through Bluehost, and as part of it, they'll ask you what your domain name is. So those are the couple things that you need. But then in addition to that, most websites have the ability for you to install and use WordPress, which WordPress is a free tool that helps you with content creation. So that's what I use as part of my website. And so I'm going to take you behind the scenes a little bit to show you some of the things that you need for setting up WordPress. Before I do that, I know I kind of brushed over a bunch of these details of getting started. I recommend you check out this site, Start a WordPress Blog. This is going to go step by step how you can set up this WordPress blog. I'd recommend not setting up a site directly on WordPress.com, but go through Bluehost and just specify that you're using WordPress. But this will give you all the steps and videos of how to do it. And just while I'm talking about it, this WP, short for WordPressBeginner.com, is a great site with lots of articles on how to improve your WordPress site. So I definitely have learned a lot from this site, and I want to tell you some of my favorite tips and tricks. All right, so back on my site, this is my site. Now that I'm actually logged in to this computer and WordPress on this computer, I actually get this top bar that you wouldn't normally see. But this top bar gives me my WordPress dashboard, and so I can actually click on this and show you behind the scenes of what goes on with my website. It actually just takes me to the domain name, followed by /WP/admin. So if you ever forget it or don't have that dashboard, you can just type that in. And as long as you have WordPress set up and installed, that should be the right URL for you to see this pane right here. This pane isn't always the most user-friendly, I would say. So it takes a little bit of practice as you move around, but I want to show you a few different things. First, you can choose your WordPress theme. If you go to Appearance, then Themes, here a theme is the way your site's going to look. You could create a website and write all the HTML and CSS, etc. yourself, but then you wouldn't be able to take advantage of all the great plugins that WordPress offers, etc. So very often, if you're just writing a blog site, it's great to not have to worry about all those design details and just choose a theme. There's lots and lots of free themes out there. There's also kind of one-time paid premium themes that you can buy. A lot of it just comes down to what's a good look and feel that you want to start out with, and then make modifications from there. So you can see here that here's just a whole bunch. You can add, plenty more. These are ones that I think I initially was considering and then migrated from there. One thing that I liked about the theme that I picked, which is this Baskerville 2 theme, is it ends up showing the image that you have on each one of your articles, along with kind of a preview of the article in these tiles on the site. I just thought that looked cool. Obviously, you can choose your own in kind of whatever you want there, but I thought that was the theme that I wanted to go with. So you can find it yourself by looking for Baskerville 2 on the WordPress theme. Then you can customize it from there and adjust it. So, if I bring up my site again, you'll recognize that it's pretty similar. It actually doesn't show those thumbnails right now as I'm logged in. All right, so after you've picked your theme, you made some adjustments, you can adjust the background image to be something else, add different pages to it by going to this Pages section. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is the plugins. So if we actually go to, we'll close this Appearance and then go down to Plugins. Here, you can actually look at the installed plugins, or you can go to Add New Plugins, and this is where there are probably thousands of plugins out there. You can see how many people have installed each one, and add and find lots of great other ones. I've installed some. I'm sure there's plenty more out there. Let me know in the comments which plugins you find really helpful, but I'm going to show you what I've installed and what I've found extremely helpful. One is this Akismet anti-spam. So I find this really helpful, especially if you turn on comments and you allow people to add comments to your articles. At first I was getting lots of spam on those comments. Once I turned this on, that really protected it and kept the integrity and cleanliness of my site. So that was extremely helpful. I also added, this is a minor, quality of life. This one is disable theme and plugin auto email or auto update emails. You'll get lots of emails from WordPress anytime WordPress is updated to a new version or a plugin is updated. You'll get an email. You can actually just disable those by adding in this plugin. So kind of neat there. There's some other plugins for adding code to a page. Actually, mostly I'm just using the core WordPress one, so I don't use these as much anymore. Everest Forms is really helpful for a contact me page. It makes it really easy to add a few fields, have people email you with questions. So I use this Everest Forms. I apologize if you've sent me a contact page with a question and I've missed it. Unfortunately, I do get some spam or quite a bit of spam through these contact me pages, so I don't always get to see the valid ones. The next one that's really important is Google Analytics for WordPress by Monster Insights. This can hook you up to Google Analytics, where you can go to Google, set up that analytics page. It will do all kinds of great tracking for you on where your viewers are coming from, how many page views you have, how long they're staying, where in the world they're coming from. So this is really good, and I'll tell you about another one in just a second. This next one, this one's kind of optional, but I think it's pretty neat. You can do this header, footer, and post injections. And with this, you can actually add something to the bottom of your page every single time. So for me, I tend to add a little paragraph that shows a picture of me and a short description of just who I am and about my family, as well as a little field for people to subscribe if they want to. So this is just a really useful way of putting the same kind of blurb or HTML over and over again on each of the bottom of the post. So I thought that was kind of cool. Jetpack is another one that's just really helpful. It can add security, performance, marketing tools. I'm sure I'm not using nearly very much about these, but what I find extremely helpful is this provides similar details like Google Analytics, where you can look at the stats of your site. That can be encouraging as you build content to see those views slowly go up over time. You can also see where in the world those views are coming from, which articles people are looking at, and then also where are they coming from? Are they coming from LinkedIn, where you post it on social media, or are they finding it through a search engine, which is really great because then that helps your content be really evergreen. Our goal here is so that the content can rank on a search engine, people are looking for it, finding your content and coming back, over and over again over time. So Jetpack's great. Jetpack has a iPhone app. I assume they've also got an Android app, but I find that really nice because then you can just check on the go. You don't have to be on a computer to check how your stats are doing. OptiMonster is also really helpful. This can be great for popping up a subscribe page. So you may see, if you go to my site, after 30 seconds, it'll pop up and ask you if you want to subscribe. I think once you X out of that, that won't pop up again for a while. But it allows your audience members to put in their email address. You can hook that up to MailChimp, which is a free service, or at least free up to a certain point of subscribers. And then every time you write a new article, MailChimp can send out an email letting your audience know that you've written a new article. So I find that really helpful. MailChimp's got all kinds of other tutorials on how to set that up. That's kind of a longer explanation, but MailChimp is great as well. Sassy Social Share. This one's really useful. You can use it to add these little share buttons at the bottom of your site. I can show you those maybe in a minute here. I don't know how many people actually kind of click on those, but I think it's helpful if they're curious and want to click on your LinkedIn page pretty quickly. Bluehost plugin. Bluehost, remember, is the hosting provider that's hosting my site, and so this allows you to just kind of easily check the settings inside of there. Updraft Plus, I find this useful. You can actually back up all of the files from your website to like a Google Drive or some other cloud drive. I think that's just some peace of mind so that, okay, not all of your content is lost if, I don't know, you click the wrong button on your WordPress site. So I really like that. All right, and then the last one that I want to talk about, and I'll go over more details in a second, you'll see the power of this, is Yoast SEO. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. That is the terms that talk about how do we get the results from a search engine to show your web page higher than others, maybe with a similar topic. How do we make sure that your content is being found? And so I've got a lot of great tips for that that I'm really excited to show you. So let me take you a little bit behind the scenes, even into this very topic right here that I wrote an article about. So normally I would come over here and click posts and then say add new post to create a new article. But in this case, I'm actually going to click all posts, and I will click on the article that I just wrote that kind of covers this same topic here. So I think it's just a little bit with this widening narrow form, it's showing a little funny, but I can click on how to write a blog article. This will open up the WordPress editor and show me all the things that I need to write this article. The very first thing that you really need to specify and decide on is your title and your focus key phrase. And so let me take a few minutes to talk about that, because this is so important to having your articles rank higher up on Google. So here is your title, it's your first piece, and then you need to decide between 2 and 4 words of a focus key phrase. What is your article going to be about? What is the phrase that if people search on a search engine such as Google or anywhere else, that they're going to find your article? So you need to come up with what that is. Make sure that that's in multiple places throughout your article. So in my case, I actually have a focus key phrase of write a blog article. So those 4 words. I leave out how to because those are more common. I just need these 4 words. Other times it'll be, I read a lot of technical articles about Microsoft Dynamics, so I'll write D365 debugging or D365 forms or something to that extent is my keyframe, so that anyone who's typing in D365 and that topic is going to find my article. And so once you've decided your title and your article, you can put it in here, but then this is where the Yoast plugin comes in real handy. Is at the bottom here we get this extra dialog form that is going to tell us everything we need to do to make sure that our article's ranking. So aside from writing all that great content, which I'll show you in a second how you go about that, you put in your focus key phrase here. You put in your slug, or what's called your slug, which is the URL that eventually is going to be how you navigate to your site. So once I publish this article, you're going to see that it's at dynamics365musings.com/write-a-plug-article. So this becomes the way that somebody could type in to get to my site. That's important as well. You want that to kind of just match your key phrase. Additionally, you've got this meta description. This meta description is this really short description that says what your article's about and it's going to show up on search engines. So here it gives you a little appearance of if someone was searching for this, what would they see in the Google results? They would see my title, they'd see the name of my site, they'd see the slug right here, they'd also see this short little description on what it is. And so here you just need to type enough words that this turns green. And it isn't, red or anything like that. The other thing is you want to make sure that your key phrase is actually in here. So I was actually missing the word article as well. So I'll add in write a blog article. That key phrase is in the meta description. That's really important. And I got to make sure that I'm green. All right. Now, after that, there's a lot of different tips for how you write that get evaluated by search engines that increase your score, your SEO score, and your ranking. And so fortunately, this Yoast tool is going to show us exactly what we need to do and make sure we do them. And so I'll kind of cover through them in just a second. But you can see here in this analysis, anything that's green, this means that I've done correctly. I've followed the rules to get the highest SEO score. Anything that's red is telling me things that I should go back and fix to make this article even better. So this is phenomenal. This is the best tip that I can give you, is to make sure you're specifying these key phrases, that you're continuing to work on all your SEO scores until you get this green smiley face. When I first start writing, it's a red sad face. Or angry face, whichever one you want to think of it as. But then as you continue to write, as you get to the end of your article and you clean these up, this will change to a green smiley face, and things will get much better for when you publish it. The other piece is this readability smiley face. So very similar. This will tell you to make sure you're not using passive voice, that you're using an active voice, that you're telling the user what they should do. You can look up the differences between passive and active voice. This is something that I regularly have to fix, but this is really helpful. You can always click this eye icon and it'll actually highlight which sentences are using the passive voice instead of the active, and then you can go back and fix them. But this is important. You want to make sure that you're using lots of subheadings, that your paragraphs aren't longer than 300 words, that your sentences are fairly short, and that you're using lots of transition words. So every time I write an article, I'm actually looking up transition words and then going to this little smart words site that tells me all of or I should say lots of transition word examples that you need to use. So first, second, third, or furthermore, or additionally. So if you've read any of my articles, you've probably noticed a lot of those transition words. That's because it's really important for that SEO score and for that readability. So you keep adding these until you get the green smiley face here as well. Okay, so now that we've kind of covered some of these pieces, I want to make sure you know where this focus key phrase should be, as well as following kind of those common best practices that you need for the SEO. So remember, the focus key phrase needs to be here. It should be part of your slug. It needs to be part of the meta description. It needs to be part of your title. And even near the beginning. If it's too much at the end, the Yoast will call it out and say that's not right. Additionally, you should have your key phrase be very close to the beginning of it in your first introductory paragraph, within maybe the first 3 sentences. If it's further down or you haven't used it, that's another problem. Additionally, you want to use your focus key phrase a bunch of times throughout the article. So you'll probably notice as you're reading this article that I repeat and find ways to make sure I'm repeating this phrase. This is really going to help our SEO score. All right. The other tips that you need to know about SEO, and again, this is something that will take some time to learn, but it's just so important. You spend hours writing these articles. You want them to do really well, and so spending the extra 20 minutes maybe to go back through, and as you do it more often, it'll take less time, is really important. So other things that will help your SEO score is to add a lot of outbound links. And I'll show you how to do this with this editor, but essentially, right, you want text that when you click on links to another source, whether that be another site that talks about the topic. I like to link to a lot of Microsoft Learn documentation, so people can go read about it there, but having outbound links are really helpful. You can also have internal links, so links to other articles that you've written on your site. That's awesome too, but really having those links helps your score. Images are really important. If your article is all just text, it won't rank as high as if you have a few images. Here you can see my key phrase density is high enough. I've added my key phrase 13 times in this article. You don't always need it to be 13 times. It depends how long your article is, but having it enough times for your article is really important. You can see here my key phrase is in the introduction. It's making sure that that's correct. I've got the key phrase in my title, so that's really helpful, and it's at the beginning of the title. My key phrase is not more than 4 words. So that's helpful as well. You'll notice I took out the how-to, or I don't have how-to. I just focus on the write a blog article phrase. I've got the key phrase in the meta description. You saw I just fixed that a second ago. So that's there. My meta description is the correct length, not too short and not too long. And then this is also checking across all the articles on my site and making sure I haven't used the exact same key phrase before. So this can get tricky if you're writing a part 1, a part 2, a part 3, but sometimes you can kind of break up those topics, but you really just want a single article that can rank for that topic to be as high as possible. My key phrase is in my slug, so that's helpful. And then text length. If you write an article less than 300 words, that's not going to give you a very high SEO score. So you need something that's at least 300 words, and then it's pretty happy from there. And there we go. I've got an overall SEO title width that's not too long. We can go back to readability as well. So a few tips with the readability is that I need to add subheadings, so these are the headings, at least every 300 words. If I have a section that is more than 300 words, this is going to nicely tell me that that section's too long, and then you should break it up. You should find a way to add another heading, whether it's an H2 tag or one of these smaller tags that breaks up that paragraph, and then helps make sure that you get those green smiley faces. So it's important to have lots of headings, that the headings have to do with your topic and kind of relate to your topic, and that there's not too many words in between. So that's really what this is focusing on. We talked about transition words. You want short sentences, and you want to use language that's not complex. You can see here, it says make sure that your complexity of your words is not too complicated. If you use words and vocabulary that no one knows, then that's not going to be as readable to your users as if you're using more simple words. So this is great. The other tip that I recommend, you can see a little bit as I write these, add lots of white space. Write short paragraphs, write a couple sentences, and then hit enter. It just makes it that much easier for a user to read than if you've got long paragraphs with 20 sentences in them. Those are a little harder to read and may cause your user to stop reading. So the more paragraphs you can kind of add, the better. All right, so now that we've covered the SEO components, I want to explain how you can use this WordPress block editor. So what's great about this is anytime you want to add another section, let's say I'm typing this from the start, you just hover over after this last paragraph and you'll get this little pop-up with a plus button, and you can say add block. Now here it'll show me all the most common blocks that I add, which is either a paragraph, a heading, or an image. That's most of what I add. Sometimes I'll add a list or sometimes a YouTube video, but you basically just type that, or you click that block. It then creates a little gap for you to start typing. I can type right here, right? And then I can hit enter and it'll create another block for me, and I can keep going, and when I'm ready I can create a header and specify which size. You know, by default I just leave these as the H2 size, and my new header. And then this is great. You just keep adding these blocks. If you want to move something, you can use these arrows to say, hey, I want to move it up or down, or maybe you delete it and you add a new block. You can always hover over in the gaps between these blocks to get those little pop-ups and add a block. But that's really it. This helps the web page create these blocks in the right way so they are responsive design. Responsive design means so that as I shrink, make this wider or taller, or you have a mobile device, that the text is going to show the way it should be. So creating blocks is great. You can add some code samples as well using a special type of block. So if I click plus, I can type in code, and then I can click this one and it will create a special code place so that it's not checking my spelling of my code. You can also type in YouTube, and this is where you can embed in a YouTube video, etc. And honestly, those are most of the blocks that I use. I keep it pretty simple, but the block editor is really nice and easy. You can then just come back and kind of edit it. So if you use Microsoft Word or something like that, it's fairly similar. It just breaks these paragraphs, if you will, into blocks. And then you can always just click save to edit your article anytime you want, and it saves a draft. All right, now that we've covered blocks and we've given you writing recommendations and Yoast SEO tips, I want to show you a few more checklists that you need to do or check before you post your article. And those are actually through WordPress. So if you come over to the right-hand side, there's this form, click on the Post tab, and then we're going to go through each one of these blocks, or at least some of them, so that you know what you need to do. So first of all, there is this visibility section right here. If you click on the blue link, it will show you whether it's public or not public. In this case, I haven't published it, but once I publish it, it'll be a public site. So you want that. You can set it to publish immediately. Most of the time, I change this. I click on the blue link, and I'm going to specify Monday morning at 8 a.m. or something for my site to go live with it. And then this button will change to a schedule button, and then WordPress will automatically take your article live at that given type. I also like to stick this article to the top of my blog so it shows up kind of first. So that's what that one does. The next few we're going to skip. I'm sure there's some great pieces in here. But then we have this Yoast SEO. So this Yoast SEO is going to match what we saw at the bottom, as well as these tiny little icons right here. Basically, you want to make sure that these are green. If you got articles where these aren't green, go back, make some adjustments, add the key phrases. This is going to make all the difference in the world for you to get as many views as possible. After that, there's the categories section. Here's where you've seen it, I'm sure, on lots of different sites. You can kind of group your content together. So in this case, I created a new category by clicking Add New Category, specifying the parent category node as tutorial, and then checked these check boxes. So I'm going to say, hey, this article, I want it to be in the content creation category of my site, as opposed to maybe under Dynamics 365 or some other subcategory, debugging, retail and commerce, anything else that I might write about. This just helps your audience find articles within the same category. Next, we've got this tags section. Tags I think of as being very similar to hashtags if you're used to writing those. But what's cool about tags is they can actually be phrases with spaces in them. So you don't add the hashtags, you just add maybe those same keywords and phrases that you might picture someone using a search engine to try to find your content. So I've added in content creation, focus keyphrase, WordPress, set up your website. Add as many as you think might be useful for someone who's going to look for these topics. Normally I'm adding lots on D365 and these kinds of topics, but this article is a little different. All right, then lastly, we've got this featured image. I find it really helpful to add a featured image. This will end up showing as an image on the top of your site. It'll show as the thumbnail on the home page if you're using that Baskerville 2. And so this is really helpful. It'll show up and pull in automatically if you're posting on like LinkedIn or Facebook. So it can just be really phenomenal. So I want to take a quick few minutes to talk about how do you create a featured image? What are kind of my tips? And obviously there's lots of different tools for creating images, whether that be Photoshop, etc. I've actually found that Canva is a free tool that you can sign in, using a Google license or anything else. There's premium versions, but the basic is free, and that's plenty great. And you can use this to create really great thumbnails. And so before we actually get into editing the image, I want to show you a site where you can find free images. So you can actually just do pixabay.com. And pixabay.com has all kinds of royalty-free images that you can use for free. You aren't infringing on anyone's copyright rights or anything like that. So we can come in here. You can search for fun things like space and get a good background there. You could search for something like article, maybe the topic of something that you're writing, but some of these might not lend themselves as well to the type of style or image you're looking for. So I just recommend you play around. You can click on these and then click download, pick your size and click download. So I usually just download a bunch of different images and then look at them afterwards and see which ones I like. Next, if we go back to Canva, you can actually search for YouTube thumbnail image, and you can search for other templates, but I like using the YouTube thumbnail template because I use this same featured image on YouTube. It makes sure that it's this pixel aspect ratio, and I find this works great still for my blog articles as well as for posting on social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. So I usually click this, and then afterwards I come in here and I look at all these different templates out here. Any with a crown will require you to pay money or a pro license to be able to get, but there's lots of other ones without the crown where you can say, hey, here's a free one. If you click on it, you can see other free ones, and then click customize this template. It's going to pull it into an editor window for you to play with. I won't cover too much detail of how you can use this editor. You can look up some other tutorials, but it's really helpful. You can drag those images that you downloaded into this window right here. They'll get uploaded. Then it's really easy to just drag and swap out the background. You can change this to your title, how to, write a blog. You can then resize this really quickly and easily. And then what I find helpful to do is to go find a picture of myself that I've removed the background of. Mine's actually pretty far down, but you can add that to this image. And you may be a little shy like I am, but it's helpful to have your picture because a lot of what you're doing is brand recognition. And so by hopefully having your picture and people like your articles, they're going to click on that a bit more. Once you have this image and everything, you can come up here, you can rename it. This just gets saved in the cloud. So how to write a blog article 3. This just constantly saves it, which is great. It's easy to make a copy if you want to adjust it and try something new. Then click share and then download. This is going to then download a PNG file. And once you have that PNG file, you can go back to your featured image, drag it on here, and this will become your new featured image. So that's really it. We've covered how to set up your website with WordPress, how to install some really great plugins, including Yoast SEO, all the fields that you need to fill out for Yoast SEO to make it rank on Google, as well as all the fields for WordPress that are also going to help with that. I told you how you can create a featured image using Canva and use pixabay.com to get some of those background images. I hope that's really helpful to you. I have a friend, Alex Meyer, who wrote an article similar to this that covers some of his tips and tricks. I definitely recommend you look at other people's advice on all those tips and tricks on how to write an article. I hope you've learned something new today. I hope this allows your articles to have a much bigger impact for all the work that you spent creating that content. So thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. I really appreciate you watching. If you liked the video, click the like button. I also invite you to push the subscribe button as well. If there's other topics you would like to see a video on, please post in the comments and I'll see what I can do. I hope you learned something new today. Thank you.